All right, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about Terence Crawford, Shawn Porter, and the fight that they've been ordered to make, and a certain boxing expert's opinion on the outcome, specifically that Terence Crawford is a front runner and there's a chance that he may get steamrolled by Shawn Porter. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. Before I get into the subject matter of the video, though, please make sure if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Also, hit the like button. Share the video. It would be greatly appreciated. So, Terence Crawford is one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and is considered by many to be the number 2 welterweight in the world. I think Ring Magazine has Terence Crawford listed as the number 2 welterweight in the world. And he's been ordered to fight Shawn Porter. So and Shawn Porter is somebody that has fought for and lost 2 championships. He's won 2 championships and he's lost 2 championships in the ring. So just off face value, you look at the fight and you say, okay, undefeated fighter, has been knocking out people. I think it might be 3-4 years since Terence Crawford has went the distance in a fight. And then you've got a battle-worn Shawn Porter, who's been in a bunch of great fights, but has been on the short end on multiple occasions. You would think that it would be a foregone conclusion that Terence Crawford would get past and win this fight, but that has not been sources that I have say that is not a foregone conclusion, and actually they favor Shawn Porter to win the fight specifically because of the way that Terence Crawford's career has gone over the last several years versus what you see from Shawn Porter. Kind of something like, you don't just look at the headlines on the internet. Look at what actually is taking place in fights, and when you look underneath the hood on it, that they're like, Terence Crawford is very much the toughest fight. I mean, Shawn Porter is very much the toughest fight for Terence Crawford, and very well may pull this out. So let's look under the hood a little bit. You have Terence Crawford, who has, like I said, has not lost a fight in his career. But if you look at it very carefully, you'll notice that he's never been in the ring with anybody or in a circumstance like a Shawn Porter. And it can be akin to, and this is not a direct comparison, obviously, but it was like, when you remember Adrian Barner was coming up in multiple weight classes, and he was winning everything. He was looking, he was being cute in the ring, all of that kind of stuff, about billions, I'm the can man, all of that type of stuff. Coming up from 130 to 135 to jumping up to 147. But then he ran into a guy, Marcos Maidana, who's much more of a buzzsaw, awkward fighter, who really came at him in a way that Adrian Brawner was not used to being attacked, even though he was an undefeated fighter and everybody thought that he was pretty much going to be the next Floyd Mayweather Jr. Well, in the case of Adrian Brawner and Marcos Maidana, Marcos Maidana was what? He was somebody that was kind of a wide swinging, get in your chest type of fighter. Some people would say that he was a dirty fighter, coming up, doing, chopping down, up and hitting people up behind the ears, that type of stuff, but just a really rough fighter. And as a result, Adrian Brawner went from being an undefeated guy who was fighting somebody where it looked like, it was easy money, to, hey man, Adrian Brawner was never the same after that. And actually, Adrian Brawner had a hard time winning fights after that. And that was, mighty big fall once you get actually around somebody that isn't scared of you, somebody that isn't being hesitant, somebody that is really coming at you and is not above hitting, doing some real kind of grimy, gritty, tactics. And also you have another person in that regard, but it's slightly different. You have Prince Nassim Hamed, who was, came up looking undefeated, all this and all that, but then runs into Marco Antonio Barrera, and Marco Antonio Barrera really does cause him a lot of problems. Marco Antonio Barrera, I believe, at the time had multiple losses, to Junior Witter, but he comes back, and then after Prince Naseem fight, turns his career around. So I do believe the same potential for the same dynamic to go on with Shawn Porter. Now, Shawn Porter is somebody that has losses on him. He's lost to Kell Brook. He's lost to Keith Thurman, and he lost to Errol Spence Jr. But if you look at all of those fights, he's the same type of fighter, not exactly the same type of fighter as the not Marco Antonio Barrera, that's a different example, of the Marcus Maidana, right? Where Marcus Maidana was, very strong, big for his weight class, but just very grimy, throwing a lot of wide hooks, a lot of crazy. That's kind of the similar to, the way that Shawn Porter fights. There was a point in time when I would watch a Shawn Porter fight, and I'd be like, man, this is just such an ugly, ugly fight. And I was saying that Shawn Porter is probably one of the dirtiest fighters in the ring that there is in boxing. Now, Shawn Porter has cleaned up his act for your Dennis Ugas fight, for the Errol Spence Jr. fight, for the Danny Garcia fight, even for the Keith Thurman fight. He was fighting, he fought at a higher level for those fights than he had in previous fights. But that grimy, gritty type of style is there to be employed upon Terence Crawford. And if Terence Crawford can't find that magic button to push on Shawn Porter, or he's hitting Shawn Porter and Shawn Porter's eating a shot, or he's mugging a shot, or he's been able to cut off the ring on Terence Crawford and get to be able to prevent Terence Crawford from pot-shotting, then you could see Terence Crawford in the first real dogfight of his career. And when you get a real dogfighter in there, it can cause problems for the best fighters. Like after Marcus Maidana beat Adrian Bronner, he went in there against Floyd Mayweather Jr. in the first fight and caused a significant amount of problems for Floyd Mayweather Jr. in that first fight. In the second fight, it was Floyd Mayweather Jr. figured it out a little bit better, made it an easier fight. But when you're in there against those type of real dogs, there's a potential for you to get pulled into a dog fight. And the thing is that Terence Crawford really he's not experienced, at least as a professional, in dog fights. And that's because he's been fighting guys where the skill gap has been so wide, and they don't have that style. Top Rank is very much into matchmaking and making sure that their champion wins in a fight that supposed to be exciting. And I think that that's what you've gotten from Terence Crawford. So this fight against Shawn Porter really does have the potential to be a big upset. And like he said, gave up that it was a male, that it could very well be a situation where Terence Crawford is used to being a front runner, and he gets in there with a dog, and that dog drags him into a fight. He may not know what to do. Anyway, so that's my take on the scenario. Make sure you let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.